بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
So the next thing, I'll try to quickly give an idea about the servers where this is something what I recommend you to invest, especially if you're practicing at the CCNP or the CCI labs. Like once you are at a level where you have crossed the CCNA and you have some around 2 to 5 years of experience. Now, most of the time you will be you'll be learning a lot of things like you will be learning some CCNP routing switching concepts. You'll be adding some MPLS technologies. And maybe if you go with a SD-WAN, if you're adding some SD-WAN or SD-WAN solutions with different vendors, whether it's a Cisco or any other vendors, you will also be adding some other devices like firewalls, whether it's a Cisco ASA or FTD or Palo Alto. Again, FI load balancers. Again, if you're getting into cyber security, there are many simulations you have to do. So at the end, you will be doing a lot of labs, the practicals. So that is very important because the more you practice, the more you implement, the more you verify, the more you actually learn. Of course, the more you implement, the more you'll get stuck. The more you verify, the more you troubleshoot, the more you learn. So it's more important that you parallelly implement and verify the things. Now, implementing and verifying, again, as we discussed, we have already seen we can either use the GNS3, EVNG, or some even Cisco have its own CML. If you're paying or installing that MS on any specific server, you can have these options. And these options are the virtual softwares which will allow you to set up these images. And all these images I can set up in this with the help of these virtual labs. I can simulate and set up a big lab as needed. Okay, that's something we can do. But now the question is, now this is something you have to do on any high-end server. Now, most of the time, most of the users, even including me, we generally go with the laptops, where which is more flexible. We invest a lot on the laptops, but mostly the laptops comes with 1632, roughly 64 GB. Again, the more you increase the RAM, hard disk space, it's going to increase the cost. And also, the problem is most of the VM integrations is not compatible with majority of the laptops. I have seen almost with everyone where whenever you are trying to integrate some VM applications, the challenges will start. And majority of the laptops do not get into more than 16 or 32 unless you order some customized laptop with the high-end configurations. But still, you will be getting like i7, i9. That's the latest you can get. But when it comes to running these virtual simulations, I recommend now when this option is not available, then the other options comes with where you have to go with the remote racks. That's the one thing you have to think about. But again, investing on the remote rack, or you need to plan your own dedicated server, which is something I recommend. Or a temporary, you can also rent some racks or the remote servers where you can do the labs based on the setup. Like we also have some remote racks where you can rent it out and practice the labs, where you have the complete prerequisite setup, images, everything, all these things. Now, depending upon what you want to do. So the first option is either now normally I suggest you to have your own option. That's something always recommended. Okay. Now, again, as I said, you may not be able to completely do each and everything what a dedicated hardware can do, but majority of the things like 70 to 90% of the things we can simulate because nowadays most of the devices come with the virtual images where you can download from the official website or even you can get it. Like we'll be offering those images with our courses as you do. So you don't need to really worry about the images and other things. Now, once you have the setup, now this setup again, you cannot do it on your laptop. That's where the issue comes because of the restrictions. Now, going with the remote racks, that is a specific time limit. You cannot go, and also not flexible. You cannot do as per your own wish whenever you want. You need to book it before, and then there are some specific time limits. That's something good if you want to just quickly do within quick labs. But again, if you're going with your own setup, you need to, I strongly recommend you to invest on a dedicated server. So mostly not a real server, not the new server. So mostly in the market, you'll find a majority of the refurbished servers. Like we have Fig models. I generally have this with us, where we are also offering some remote servers where you can get the remote rack server with around 256 GB RAM, 2 TB space. Of course, the and also it comes with a pre-installed images where you can also get the images pre-installed, pre-set up. That's something you can also approach. So probably what you have to do is you need to invest on this server, or if you're in a remote location, I'm not saying specifically you should come to us, but basically any server you have, if you already have any refurbished server, which will not cost you more than 800 to 1000 USD in terms of USD, which is going to be very high-end server with running a 256 GB RAM, Xeon processors, probably running a Dell or HP, uh, those kind of things. So mostly this is kind of a one-time investment, and especially this is mandatory for anyone who is looking out for a lot of learning in the future, especially because mostly people who are sitting in this session like SD-WAN or learning any firewall courses or going to CCI level in the future next 2 years. So you should have your own setup so that it will be more flexible. And of course, the images once you set up, you can simulate most of the labs. And even I have seen many people offering the IT solutions. They also try to simulate the labs before setting them in the real network on this. So you have to do this. So probably this is one thing, and some maybe an EVNG license. If you're comfortable with EVNG, that requires a license. You need to go with that. That's kind of an investment you have to do. Okay, so having your own dedicated server will have challenges initially. I'm not saying that this is going to be a smooth ride. You will have some challenges. Of course, we'll also assist you on that. And where you can have the complete setup with pre-installed images, where you can simply go and get the images and you can run the labs. So mostly almost all the images whichever compatible or works, most of them can be done. Okay. So this is something what I suggest the option, or if you have a laptop which basically is compatible, that is another solution. Or if you already have a server, I recommend you to set up those things. Time being, if you're going with remote racks, that is a temporary solution, I'll say. Maybe you have just 1 or 2 months where you don't want to invest, or where you don't want to do much time on setting up the things, then and just finish up the course as soon as possible, then remote racks is another solution. Actually, will be offering that as well. Let me just quickly show you that as well. That is again another solution where you can also use our remote labs or the remote racks, where you can simulate majority of the devices and you can customize the labs. But again, that is more kind of a time limit option as well.